Today on Locked On Red Wings, Dylan Larkin sets a franchise record 13th overtime winner, passing Sergei Fedorov.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. And Scotty, though, man, so much to talk about today. Red Wings out of their Olympic break, steal 2 points in Ottawa, beating the Senators 2-1 in overtime. Dylan Larkin scores both goals. They're, important goals as Red Wings get 2 points. And it's a record-breaking goal for the franchise as well, as Larkin's now the franchise winner in OT winners. John Gibson is great again. Doesn't even look like he took 2.5 weeks off with how sharp he looked. And then there's rumors. There is rumors circulating all over social media that the Red Wings had put in an offer to acquire Tyler Myers, and it just came down to whether or not he'd waive his no-trade clause if he'd come here. So a lot to break down on this episode. Before we can get to any of that, though, we got to let you know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with NBA, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Oh, I was trying to hold it together. That was a banger.
As soon as I said the second NBA, I was like, that doesn't sound right. FanDuel, official partner of the NBA. Scotty, the Detroit Red Wings win 2-1 in Ottawa. It didn't feel like in the first period it was going to end up that way.
Certainly.
Which is not something... I guess I should say, which is something we've grown accustomed to with the team this year. They always seem to start out slow. But in the grand scope of the game, how do you feel this one went for Detroit?
No, hey, any win against Ottawa is a good day, okay? Anytime you're getting 2 points, and they still get a point themselves and, don't go home with nothing. But anytime you can get 2 points over the Sens, it's a good day in my book. But
right.
This was I think going into this game, there was a lot of questions of they kind of had a skid going into the break. It's one of your biggest modern current rivals. The Larkin versus Tkachuk thing they talked about 60 billion times on the broadcast. There was a lot of stuff, just outside noise kind of going into this game and just how were Larkin and I guess on the Sens side Tkachuk as well, how are they gonna look first day back after all 4-day bender of celebrating? What was their production gonna be? What were they gonna look like? And certainly on the wing side of things, Larkin put any concern to rest, as he was one of the best players on the entire ice for either team in this hockey game, and obviously was responsible for both goals for the Wings. So an awesome night, an awesome performance. They don't lose. They still have not lost back-to-back games in regulation now because of this win. There's just vibes are high, baby. Vibes are absolutely high, or in however long, not whatever. They haven't lost back-to-back in whatever
they haven't lost back-to-back games in regulation since November.
It's
late November 30th, I think it was.
Whatever the amount of games is at now. But yeah, awesome, absolutely fantastic, and I think it was just a nice reassurance and kind of confidence booster of the fan base of okay, this is the team is still competitive, good. Larkin's back. It's business as usual. Everything's okay. And you get a win over, again, one of your biggest current rivals.
Well, and, you and I both believe that the Red Wings are buying at this deadline.
Sure.
No matter what, but going into this week, leading up to the trade deadline, it's so important. In the years past, it's decided Yzerman's path. I think Yzerman's already decided on his path this year, but it's reassuring for you as a fan. I'm sure for Steve Yzerman seeing them clinch the season series against the Ottawa Senators, the team that effectively ended their series or season 2-3 years ago, was reassuring as well. Now they're 3-0 against the Senators on the season with one game remaining against them, and they grow their they grow their playoff lead on the first team out of the playoffs back to 7 points as Washington won yesterday and shrunk it to 5. So they're back to second place in the division with the win too, as Montreal loses in overtime. So they have second place in the division outright by 1 point with the win. So it's a big win across the board. But as far as like the game flow goes, I already touched upon it as part of the intro, but flat start again by Detroit. They looked slow, and they were getting bullied physically in the defensive zone pretty much the entirety of the first
period. Had 4 shots in the first intermission.
Right. And, like, the thing is, like, you can't even blame that on, like, Olympic break rust or whatever. This is just how they are.
Yeah.
Well, no, but this is how the Red Wings have been.
For sure.
They have to lean so heavily upon John Gibson in the first period of every hockey game to get them through the first, where they find their game in the second and third, which I do think they found their game in the second and third pretty well. They ended the game, shot attempts were exactly even, although Ottawa did end up having a pretty heavily favored in actual shots on net, as well as expected goals. Because they found their game in the second and third, they were able to push back a little bit, tie the game, ultimately win it overtime. But they had to rely so heavily upon John Gibson again to start this game, who you wouldn't even be able to tell he took 2.5 weeks off because of how sharp he looked in this game. I think officially now it's 26 saves. Let's see if they updated that again. Updates a couple times. So it's now up to 27 saves in this hockey game. And early on in the game, he made some incredible saves on Dylan Cousins for one, as well as Brady Tkachuk in the first period. So he had to be sharp early. I remember one in particular, like this great lateral across where he got his blocker on it and was able to make the save. He was lights out again.
Yeah. I mean, I think he, when talking about, Larkin and saying, he might have been the best player on the ice tonight, I think the natural, who else was in the running for that is probably Gibson. And we've obviously sung his praises and talked about how important he's going to be to this team going forward at nauseum over the last, not only during the Olympic break, but obviously going back to, the last couple of months since his hot streak started at the beginning of December. And yeah, I thought he was absolutely dialed in this game, man. There was that kind of that weird moment where the buckle came undone, and there was they didn't stop play, but clearly his equipment was weird. He had to take a glove off to rebuckle, but the Wings had a kind of not a rush, but like a zone entry and had a shot on net, and then the Sens got the puck back and also had a pretty relatively high danger opportunity there. And Gibson just, business as usual. So another fantastic performance for him, and they're going to need it going forward. So it's good to see out of the break. Again, you have the big rest versus rusts question, and it has not seemed to as it have impacted, maybe one of the most important players on the team at least.
No, and you could also make the argument that he had rest and he looked great, but the player who didn't have rest in Larkin and Raymond were the two best players offensively. I mean, it goes without saying. You touched upon Larkin, obviously, but because he scored twice in this hockey game, including the OT winner. But Larkin and Raymond were the best offensive drivers for the Detroit Red Wings in this hockey game. When plays were developing, it was usually them at the helm, and Raymond's pass on the power play, that just silky smooth backhander over 2 sticks to find Larkin in the bumper position to bury it for his 27th goal. And then that nifty play Lucas Raymond made in overtime where he actually almost lost the puck, but was able to pull it back. And then I don't know if he went off the boards or went around the defender to find Dylan Larkin for the breakaway. But they were synergizing. They looked like they were playing a step above the rest of their teammates in this hockey game, probably because they literally were like a week ago. Well, Larkin 3 days ago, 5 days ago. So Larkin and Raymond looked great.
Yeah. Oh, well, very much so. I mean, we can talk about it now or we can save it. The game-winning goal, obviously an incredible finish. Larkin deserves all the credit in the world. Had a fantastic night. Beautiful. the pass from Lucas Raymond was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my entire life. I
Right.
got like emotional. I was borderline crying over that. That is beauty in its purest form, dude. Because live you see it and you're like, wow, like, hopefully he leads it, and you're just focused on like, can Larkin finish if he gets the puck to tape, and obviously he did, and then he did finish. But when they showed the replay and showed from the camera behind Ottawa's net, and they showed it going out, and you see Raymond, lose the puck for like a half a second and then get it back on his stick, and just the most perfect touch, the perfect pass. It was unbelievable. I was blown away by that. And yeah, the two of them, along with Sider, obviously had a good game, and then
And an
Gibson.
assist.
Yeah, and that, so like those three, the usual suspects, the three Olympians, and then a guy who's been maybe the best goalie in the NHL since the middle of December, get you a win. Like, it's literally like they didn't take any time off at all. Just kind of business as usual.
Also nice to see Larkin's first goal come on the power play, because obviously much was made about the struggles they had going into the break.
For
sure. But also notable, no 5-on-5 goals in this hockey game for the Red Wings. So that
did have an even strength,
continues.
technically.
Technically, they did have an even strength goal, yes, the 3-on-3 OT winner. But yeah, Dylan Larkin's OT winner breaks sets the franchise record at 13 now as he surpasses Sergei Fedorov. So
yeah, and
big moment for him.
Very cool moment, and they've talked to Larkin about it. Larkin has been very open about like not caring about this record at all, because Fedorov didn't play in the 3-on-3 overtime era, so he's like, that barely counts. Like, he's like, it doesn't. Yeah, like they literally asked him about it. He's like, this doesn't count. Like, if Sergei played when there was 3-on-3 OTs, like, he'd probably have an untouchable record. So like, fair is fair, but.
Dylan Larkin needs to go to the school of if it fits my narrative, because he's
Your
failing
narrative,
it right now.
Not his own. He cares about Brian Fisher's narrative.
He needs to attend a class or two. Scotty, let's head to a quick break. When we return, we'll continue our conversation about this 2-1 overtime win against the Ottawa Senators. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed, Sponsored Jobs help you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your post the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Again, Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Got to also talk to you about Factor, cold days, packed schedules, and big goals. That's winter. And when there's not a lot of time to cook, eating well can feel like they're another thing on the to-do list. That's where Factor comes in. Factor makes healthy eating easy with fully prepared meals designed by dietitians, crafted by chefs so you can eat well without the planning, prepping, and cooking. Factor meals are always fresh, never frozen, and ready in about 2 minutes. The ingredients stand out: lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole foods, and healthy fats. Tons of variety with 100 rotating meals each week, so it never gets boring. Perfect for busy weeks when you still want meals that support your goals without stress. Head to factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL50off and use code LockedOnNHL50off to get 50% off and free breakfast for a year. Eat like a pro this month with Factor. New subscribers only, vary by plan. One free breakfast item per box for 1 year while subscription is active. Also, got to let you guys know that leading up to the trade deadline, Locked On is running a promo for its Everydayer Club. If you head to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer and use promo code DEADLINE, you get first month free on everything that subscription has to offer, which includes ad-free episodes, as well as exclusive access to a Discord where you can talk to other Red Wings fans and Scotty and I. So again, lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer, promo code DEADLINE for your first month free on the subscription. Scotty.
Good job, man.
Thank you. There was a lot there.
You had to lock in there.
I had.
Good.
We pushed through. Scotty, the Red Wings won 2-1 over the Ottawa Senators. We talked about the two big difference makers, and I guess three big difference makers if you lump Raymond in there with the two primary assists. But there was other stuff from this game. It was interesting D pairs in this hockey game. Yep. Simon Edvinsson returns to the lineup after having knee surgery and is back like a month later, and slots right back in with Moritz Seider. The defensive pairs were reported as normal, and by normal I mean Sherratt and ASP, and then Albert Johansson and JBD, but it was actually Sherratt and JBD and ASP and Albert Johansson. So I just want to get your thoughts on how you thought all three defensive pairs played in this one.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about it a little bit before we hit record. I mean, like anything with any pair that has Seider on it, I'm not going to be too worried about. The conversation is more of the bottom four there. I thought Aljo looked good in the offensive zone, and then like we talked about it, and you were like, "Well, but what about the other zone?" And I was like, "Well, maybe we don't talk about that." That was a pair that was, I thought, had moments where they were again effective in like keeping the puck in the zone. Aljo had a couple of like just getting the puck deep opportunities. I thought he looked pretty fine, back against the blue line. But there's really no denying that in the defensive zone it was kind of a different story. And then the third pair has just been what it's been kind of all season.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it warranted an attempt because Jacob Bernard-Docker had played pretty admirably with Moritz Seider and Edvinsson's absence. Now, he did not fill those shoes fully, but he played it better than I think many of us give him credit for. So he definitely earned a shot for more minutes with Ben Sherratt. And that, of course, means ASP was with Albert Johansson, rather. And ASP needs to be on the third pair if you're going to keep him in the NHL this season, just because you need to be able to, if you're going to shelter him, put him on a pair where it's normal to get very little minutes. And he, that was normal in this one. And I like the upside that pair can have with the fact that they're both very mobile puck-moving defensemen. And Axel Sandin-Pellikka led the team in expected goals share and Corsi's share at 5-on-5. Now, granted, you got to keep in mind that's playing sheltered minutes, offensive zone deployments, and those numbers are a team stat. So if he leads the team in expected goals when he's on the ice, that's because everyone on the ice is contributing to that stat. That's not his personal shot attempts. So definitely keep in mind his deployment, but he did lead the team. But when they got in the D zone, you could really tell that they may be mobile, but man, are they undersized. And Axel Sandin-Pellikka, of course, continues to be not quite strong enough as they were just kind of physically overwhelmed. And every time that the Red Wings got trapped in the D zone, it felt like they were out there. And I don't necessarily think JBD and Ben Sherratt were really that much better. Now, Ben Sherratt made a phenomenal play on
phenomenal, dude. Oh my God. I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to talk about it when it happened live, and then I forgot about it. The poke.
Yeah, the poke check to deflect the puck out of play. So
phenomenal.
I want to see if, more reps to see how it goes. They obviously won in this hockey game, so they're not going to be motivated to break it up because I can see a pathway where those pairs could be an improvement over the previous pairs for those two bottom ones. As far as Edvinsson goes, I both loved and hated Edvinsson's game today. And you and I talked about it before we recorded. I loved Edvinsson's physical play in this one. It's really nice having somebody on this team who's not going to take Brady Tkachuk's stuff like crap and can get in Brady Tkachuk's head. And Edvinsson was living in Tkachuk's head in this game. And that's a far cry. Yeah, that's a far cry from what we saw 2 years ago.
Shout out Dylan Larkin. Just traveled the country with this guy and was partying with him all week.
The world with this guy.
And still went up to the ref and gave him a little stick tap. It was like, hey, why don't you go check on your boy over there trying to chirp a little bit. Shout out the captain.
So I love that from Simon Edvinsson that we finally have somebody who can get under Tkachuk's skin because,
For sure.
we saw several years ago before Edvinsson had cracked the Red Wings lineup that they were living rent-free in the Red Wings' heads, and now it's not necessarily the case anymore.
For sure.
And Edvinson's a big part of that because of his presence. By the way, the fans are booing. The refs made the right call every step of the way.
I
Edvinsson
agree.
absolutely interfered with Brady Tkachuk. But they called a major to review it, which is the right thing to do. There was blood. They reviewed it. It was Tkachuk's own stick, so it's a minor interference. And then Cousins wanted a retribution, so he got the roughing, which is right. And then Tkachuk was talking smack when Edvinsson was in the box, so he got the 10-minute misconduct. Everything the refs did was by the books, 100% correct. The fans just didn't like it because they don't have the context that we do watching on TV.
Well, it's all
Also, it's Ottawa. They're fans,
just home
but-
crowd. I mean,
Right.
I'm sure if it was in Detroit, we would have booed too. But I agree with you. I think that I think that pretty much everything they did was lockstep. Seeing Edvinsson stand up and go right back at Tkachuk when they're both in the box for like minutes. They were going back and forth for a while. Is just absolutely beautiful. Just a team that has physically, mentally, and emotionally dominated you for years, and you finally get a force that is able to kind of negate that and cancel it out and go toe to toe at least with them in that regard is a beautiful thing, even if it led to a penalty for him. But we'll take it.
And the last thing I want to talk about with this game, Scotty, before we actually, because I said there was things I loved and hated from Edvinsson in this hockey game. The things I hated, he looked a little rusty, and I'm not like he just didn't have his cleanest game in the world. A couple defensive zone turnovers.
Hasn't played in a month.
Right. So that's what I meant when I both loved it and hated it. He didn't have his best game. Obviously, the interference penalty that he took on Brady Tkachuk wasn't the best timing in the world either. And several defensive zone turnovers, including one late in the second period, like with time running out, that could have led to a goal against with the pressure it unnecessarily created. But, I mean, outside of that, I thought it was just fine. Scotty, that's pretty much sums up everything, all the big thoughts I had in the game. I could keep going on little things, but we have kind of a big talking point about Tyler Myers to get to in segment 3. So do you have anything else you want to touch upon before we move on?
No, I don't think so. I think the blue line was a big talking point. I think the slow start was a big talking point. And then obviously Gibson, Larkin, Raymond, Sider. And we kind of touched on all that. Ottawa still boos DeBrincat every time he touches the puck.
That's so funny.
Which is, it is what it is. Good to see the power play score. Also, kind of sucks that there wasn't a lot of 5-on-5, offense. But I do want to give the team credit, they were getting outshot by like 4 times their shot total at the first intermission, and then it ended up being pretty even, as you mentioned at the top of the show. So I do think there was a little bit of a turnaround. I guess I just kind of recapped the entire show in 30 seconds there, so you're welcome. But I think that's pretty much it, man. We're just really good to get 2 points coming out of the break against Ottawa of all teams. That's an absolute beauty.
The Red Wings had 16% of the expected goals in the first period, 42% of the expected goals in the second, but 72 in the third. So they continue to be a team that starts cold and then heats up as the game goes on.
For sure.
Scotty, we're going to talk about Tyler Myers as his name was linked to Detroit all day today, and our thoughts on the player and the rumored trade. So stay tuned to segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock in. You're going to love futures this time of year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship game or grab a conference title. It adds an extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And now, not only can your pick cash, but could also send you to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use Profit Boost on an NBA future and get entered for a chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Scotty, earlier today there were reports by Darren Dreger. I think he was the first one to break the news, so to speak, or break the rumor that the Red Wings were heavily in on Tyler Myers. And what it came out as the hours ran on was that the Red Wings had an offer on Tyler Myers that Vancouver liked and basically had accepted. And it came down to Tyler Myers and his no-move clause to determine whether or not he would come to Detroit. So the Red Wings essentially made a trade with Vancouver that Vancouver accepted, and it was up to Tyler Myers to decide whether or not he wanted to move him and his family to Detroit for a year and a half because he has 1 year left on his deal. What are your thoughts on Tyler Myers as a player and your thoughts on this deal that did not come to pass? I think most recent reporting suggests that he didn't waive his or is not going to, as he wants to go to a destination that's closer to a Stanley Cup like Dallas if he's going to waive his no-move clause at all. But I just want to know your thoughts on that potential trade and Tyler Myers as a whole.
Yeah, I'm glad that we did the episode we did yesterday, like timing wise, because I think you could legitimately copy and paste my exact thoughts on yesterday's trade profile breakdown and paste them and just replace, the names, and it would be pretty accurate to how I feel. Like, I seriously, I think that it's a situation where, like, if they brought him in, like, sure, I mean, the team would, I think, be better. He would be an improvement over some of the guys at the bottom of the lineup there for sure. You get somebody with a little bit of term. Obviously, that's not as much as yesterday, but you get somebody with term, and that's not just a pure rental. You presumably it wouldn't cost an arm and a leg, but like at the same time, I think that like shouldn't be the only move at the deadline, and you should use the assets that you don't spend to bring him to go kind of put all your chips in and get a bigger piece. So again, I pretty much said those exact words yesterday. That's still pretty much how I feel with Myers, and it doesn't sound like that's going to happen anyway. But yeah, I mean something very similar for sure.
Yeah, I mean the upside with Tyler Myers is he's big, 6'8", can block shots, can throw his body. He's a shutdown defenseman, essentially. With his long reach, he's very rangy and can break up plays. The downside is he's 37 years old. He's big, and those two things combined for a not very mobile player. Yeah. So don't expect much from him in terms of transition game and offense. He does have 1 year left, so it kind of fits the term thing, but it also means that he'd be 38 when it would expire. But I agree with you. It's like, yeah, he would make the Red Wings defense better. Like, he'd raise the floor. He'd come in, and he would be your second pair defenseman with Ben Sherratt. Now, can you imagine? Sure. And, like, this is a guy that analytics guys hate. And now you're comparing him with Ben Sherratt
on this same pair. Just menace to society, yeah.
And, like, a lot's been made about his player card this year on Evolving Hockey and, J-Fresh. Also, you got to keep in mind the Vancouver Canucks stink this year, and so that has a huge impact on it. Relative to his teammates, he's like right around average. Like he's not making it so they're winning games, but he's not losing them games either. He would be a defensive improvement, which is what this team needs. And the biggest thing with him is he'd be cheap. He would have been cheap to acquire. Yeah. I think what was circulating is it was a second-round pick or equivalent of was rumored to be what the Red Wings are offering, and it's like if you use a second-round pick, you get your second pair defenseman. Well, now you still have all your assets to try and go make a splash, and that's all we really that would have, I think Red Wings fans, if you told them you got Tyler Myers and you only got Tyler Myers, you'd be like, I mean, I guess like it's fine. But if you said I got Tyler Myers, so I still had more assets to go get this big name player, they'd be like, okay, big brain. That's 40 chest. Now we got a temporary second pair defenseman and a
40. Not sure it's that revolutionary of a strategy, but yes,
but that's how they, fans tend to react to those sorts of those types of things. So it would be fine, assuming they paid like a second for it. It's not the guy that any Red Wings fan wants. Like if you were to ask me, Brian, do you want Tyler Myers over Mackenzie Weegar or over Justin Falk or Dougie Hamilton or whatever defenseman's on the market? I'd probably be like, no, not really. But the cost to get him would probably be far cheaper than any of those other guys. Mackenzie Weegar's going to get at least a first just because of the term remaining and the fact that he's a better player than Tyler Myers at this point. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a moot point anyways, because it sounds like he's not waiving his no move clause. So on to greener pastures, I guess, with the Steve Yzerman's hunt for trade deadline acquisitions.
We'll see, man. Next week's going to be a fun week, and we are going to have a lot of conversations.
Yeah, I'm glad that we have been as on top of it as we have, because the Red Wings have been linked to just about every single player this year, which is a good thing because it means that Yzerman is out there and he's hunting for somebody to add to this roster. Like he was not rumored to be in on everyone like he was like this year. So it's great to hear. Now let's just hope it actually leads to something. Scotty, the Red Wings play the Carolina Hurricanes on Saturday. We've seen the Carolina Hurricanes a couple times this season. Most recently, the OT winner on Sergei Fedorov's retirement jersey night with the controversial Andrew Kopp cross-check to Gostisbehere. That was fun. But yeah, we'll recap that game on Monday. Any final thoughts, dude?
I don't think so. We ball.
We do ball. We'll be back with a new episode then. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.